are talking. So a couple things that are interesting. No one's read books about entrepreneurship, right? 0 to 1 is kind of it, right? One, because it's super difficult and it's non-deterministic. So I can't, if you want to get a job in finance and work on Wall Street, I can give you, go to this school, learn these derivatives, go do this thing, and you can get a job on Wall Street. Entrepreneurship is consistently decision-making under uncertainty, which is such an interesting problem to have. People will write books about it, and then lots of those books may not come through. One of the one of the books that I have read is one called The Innovator's Solution. You absolutely should read it, by a guy named Clayton Christensen, Harvard Business School guy who's passed away. Spectacular book on innovation. If you do anything on innovation, you should, some of the concepts you're going to hear here come from Clayton Christensen, Harvard Business School. So I wrote this book because I'm like, entrepreneurship is awesome. You can change the world, you can change your life, but how do I frame it in something that's interesting? I was doing some studying for Carl Jung, and there's alchemy. There's this cool thing where they turn lead into gold, or they tried. So I applied the principles of alchemy to the modern concept of entrepreneurship, because we really haven't had entrepreneurship more than a couple hundred years in this country. Why alchemy? Alchemy is an interesting problem because it tries to take and this is something that I think you're going to hit, Liam, well, anybody who's going to really do this, inputs, so if we think about this from an economic standpoint, so product inputs that are low value, like lead, right? Or in our case, manual processes, right? And turn them into something that has got a super high value, gold, right? And how the heck do you do that? So if you start to think about, we're going to come up with a mindset, a way of thinking. So we're going to think about taking low value inputs and turning them into high value outputs. Let's think about somebody who does that today. Give me an example of somebody who does that today. Car companies. Take steel, aluminum, rubber for tires, right? BMW, and turns it into not just a car, but the ultimate driving machine, right? And you'll hear language from customers, you'll hear language from companies when you hear their value products that they're developing, right? And then their inputs are always going to be low value. If you're going to take a high value input and just marginally increase it, you're probably going to trip, you're probably not going to do real well. It's probably somebody else who's already doing it. There are two segments to the alchemical process. Bobby was talking about one called Know Thyself. We're not going to do that because that'll take way too long. So I took the concepts of alchemy, and there's a couple ones. One's called the Philosopher's Stone. I'm sure you guys saw this in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And there's one called Prima Materia, which is your core. If you don't know who you are, and you haven't looked at yourself in the mirror and are able to convey this, and Bobby can relate to this significantly because you had kind of an epiphany when you started to do this. You will project who you think you are or who you think you want to be, and you will be unauthentic to your customers, and they will not buy from you. By the way, all of this goes for business, family relations, your spouse, your kids. This is just human dynamics, which is why I thought alchemy was such an interesting concept, because it goes across everything we do in life. If you pretend to be someone and you're not, you don't know who you are, you don't know thyself, you'll come across and people will take a step back from you. So we're not going to talk about that because that gets too complicated. What we are going to talk about is the alchemical transformation. All right, Jeremy, next one. All right. I did not put politics, and I did not put, what kind of industry would you say you're in?
Museums.
Art.
History. Culture.
Culture. Okay, I did not put
Learning, education.
Right. Okay, learning and development. I did not put L&D on here. Doctors. Nobody's going to support that because everybody's going to say it's too expensive and everything. And then he comes up and constrains it with, here's how we're going to do it. Here's everyone's going to have access. Not everyone's going to get to see a doctor. I'll come back to that. So let's think about Home Depot. What did they create? So what did they destroy? That you have to hire a contractor to do it. So they created the DIY industry. Costco did something similar, just on the consumer space, right? What's the constrained brainstorming? If I'm sitting in a Home Depot CEO, C-class officers meeting, am I saying, well, we need to have John Deere tractors, and I need to have these gigantic machines that make offshore drilling? Do they have offshore drilling rigs at Home Depot? No. What do they have? Stuff for home projects. We don't scale beyond home projects. We don't do tractors. Because you see lots of these companies that will, they'll have lots of, cherry pickers and gigantic things for, doing construction on the ground. They're selling to contractors. Their constraint, which is what you're talking about, Bezos deleted the constraints, but he added one constraint. And you'll hear him talk about this on any of his interviews. We don't do anything that the customer doesn't want. Not just because we do it. So Fred Smith, guy who started, Fred, what's his name, who started Southwest? Kelleher, started Southwest. What was Southwest's tagline? Everybody's been on Southwest. What was the tagline? Do you remember? Fly, don't drive. They weren't competing with other airlines. They were competing with the bus. Not anymore, but back when he started it, right? Their tickets had to be as cheap as a bus ticket because he couldn't compete with the other airlines. So there's a whole story about one of his VPs coming in and go, Fred, we got to offer, people are asking for Caesar salads and they're asking for stuff. And his statement was, will it drop the price? No, it's going to increase the price by about 16 cents. Then don't do it. Constrained brainstorming. In service to fly, don't drive. The thing we destroyed, which was flying can be as inexpensive as a bus ticket, right? So it's hard, it's like, again, easy to see in the rearview mirror, hard to see out the front windshield, right? When you're trying to figure out, I got to stay constrained. What did I really want? And if you don't understand what you're destroying, if it takes you a couple months, great, because none of this stuff comes quick. This could take years as you cycle through it and you finally get it. It took me about, there's another book called Good to Great. You have to read it. Called your see, look at this. I got head shakes from the guy. Great book. So he'll talk about your economic denominator, the thing that rings the bell. In the political world, it's the thing that gets people to say yes. In the art world or in the leadership world, it gets things that people to follow you. Yeah, Jim Collins. Okay, so it could take you a while. It took me a while to figure out what I was destroying. And by the way, you do this across all levels of your organization. This is just not strategic. You do it in HR. What do I destroy in HR? You do it in finance. What do I destroy in finance? You do it in innovation. You do it in marketing. You do this all the way down. If you think about a business, you're going to do it all the way up and down the P&L. Right? If you think about leadership or politics, you're going to do it all the way up and down your org chart, right? Because everybody has something different. All right. The alchemical transformation. So in Alchemy, if you start reading about Alchemy, you're going to find 50-step transformation, a transformation to live forever, a 72-step transformation, a 14-step transformation. It's all over the map. What is common, and I just boiled it down because one, we have to be able to understand this and not have to get a PhD in it, is that there are 3 steps to the alchemical transformation. By the way, anybody who has been successful has gone through this alchemical transformation. President Obama has gone through this transformation. Amazon has gone through this transformation. Whether or not they use this language, they have done this work. And you'll hear it when they speak. And anybody who has not done this transformation, I guarantee you, will fall apart and fail. So I don't know if any of you guys have read Crossing the Chasm. If you hasn't, read that one, right? Yeah, Crossing the Chasm, Innovator Solution. These are all things that even as a leader, even if you're in the public sector, absolutely you should read. If you have skipped any of these stages, you're in the chasm. The chasm is where startups and good leaders go to die. It's a bad place to be. You do not want to be there, right? So there are 3 steps. Nigredo, and again, I just took these steps from the alchemical literature and it's decided these are the 3 things that are common across all these different things of alchemy. It's a fun way of looking at entrepreneurship. It is entrepreneurship 101. It's leadership 101. We're going to use the lens of alchemy to look through this. So there are 3 stages. Nigredo, the blackening, albedo, the whitening, and rubedo, the reddening. And we're going to talk about each one of these in turn. Next one. All right. Nigredo, the blackening. This is the idea to destroy something. It's an interesting concept to go, I'm going to go build a company. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And the very first thing I tell you to do is destroy something. Right? But I'm going to build something. I don't want to destroy something. You have to destroy an old idea. And that's what this is talking about. It's not literally burning a company down to the ground. It's not literally, going out and tearing something apart. It's destroying an old idea. By the way, this is super easy to understand ex post, after the fact. A priori, before the darn fact, this is really hard to do. So we're going to go through a couple of these. You're going to destroy an old way of thinking or an old way of doing something. So let's talk about Amazon. What was the concept that Jeff Bezos destroyed when he first started Amazon? You have to go to a store to buy books. Prior to that, if someone said, I'm going to go buy a book, everyone would say, oh, what bookstore are you going to? Right? And he suddenly said, bookstores are obsolete and irrelevant. Why did he say that?
Unnecessary overhead.
Overhead cost. So price. The price is fine if you're selling books at $500 a pop. If you got to sell a book for $19.95, overhead, it's a problem. Okay, so there's a cost factor. There's something else. And it was in the statement that they made when they first opened up Amazon. A normal bookstore can hold maybe 50,000 SKUs, maybe 100,000 SKUs if you're a giant Barnes & Noble. So I used to go to this teeny tiny bookstore because I was a geek when I was a kid, and I wanted to learn about stuff called op-amp. And it's an electronics concept. And I would have to go to this teeny tiny bookstore, and it was a dive. But it had all these cool books about electronics. And I could go in, and they might have 10,000 titles. They certainly didn't have 50,000. But I could go in and go, hey, I want to learn about flip-flops, and I want to learn about, I don't know, DACs and stuff. And I could find a book. Sometimes. A lot of times they would go, oh, no, we don't have a special book on that. We're going to have to order it out. I couldn't order it out at Barnes & Noble. They just, we're not going to order you that one book for you. The specialty book company can order it, but I had to wait 2-3 weeks to get it. The world. So when I say that people who do this, who are successful do this, Bezos did this. Even though he won't call it this, you won't hear him say, oh, I destroyed something. He destroyed the idea that bookstores should have giant selection. Then he also destroyed something else when he created Amazon Prime.
Fast delivery?
Fast delivery. I can get my book next day, same day, right? And then he destroyed something else when he created the Kindle, which was instant delivery, right? Think about that. Prior to Amazon, you had to wait. I had to go to a store and wait 3 weeks to get a flipping book. Now, not only can I get the book I want, I can get it instantly. So he destroyed those ideas. So let's do a couple other ones. Let's talk about Home Depot first. What's the idea that Home Depot destroyed?
You need to hire a contractor.
You need to hire a contractor. Cannot do it yourself, right? They created the DIY sector, right? And again, like I said, this is super easy to do in the rearview mirror. When we can see companies that have done it and been successful, we can analyze this and go, oh yeah, we can see what you do. Now you have to take the next step and go, what am I going to destroy? And that's a much harder task, and we're going to talk about how you do that. What are the steps to do that, right? Let's talk about Intel. What is the idea that Intel destroyed? It's like the first one they came out with was like the 6502. So this is going way back. Maybe you and I remember this, but I don't know if anybody else will. Computer chips are programmable by yourself. You don't have to be a research university. You can buy a 6502, stick it in a board, and if you think about Microsoft and Bill Gates, the very first Altair computer he had these little switches because he had a chip in there that didn't cost $1 million, and he could play with this computer. Super rudimentary, but chips can go on your desk. That's what they built, right? Any other examples you guys can think of? Yes, sir.
Cirque du Soleil.
Cirque du Soleil. Blue Ocean Strategy. Read this book.
Great book. Great book.
Great book. Absolutely has to be read, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you got 3 books now that you got to read. Blue Ocean Strategy, Innovative Solution, Crossing the Chasm.
And the reason that there's red ocean, blue ocean, right? Red
Yes, sir.
ocean is where there's tons of competition and
Yes, sir.
it's bloody.
Blood in the water.
Ready. But blue is where you can find a whole new ocean.
Mhm.
What they did is they went out and said, the way they treat animals in these circuses and it's bad.
Yep.
Let's recreate the idea of a circus
Yep.
with people.
Yep. And then they said, you know what, you're paying all these high trapeze artists who are names in the trapeze community, but the customers do not care that Federico, the trapeze artist, they just want to see someone flying on the flying trapeze. So they then destroyed the idea that I have to pay for high-priced performers, right? Then they destroyed the idea that it has to be a 3-ring circus. Then they destroyed the idea of saying, we're not, you know what they priced at? Circus tickets were like $12. Cirque du Soleil tickets were $45. They weren't a circus. Do you know what they were competing against? Theater. 45 ticket dollar price is a theater ticket. So the guy who started it, what's his name? Pierre, whatever his name is. People would say, oh, you're starting a circus? You're not going to have animals? You're crazy. And his response was, I'm not starting a circus. That's a pretty gutsy thing to say when everybody thinks you're starting a circus and you look like a circus, right? So he destroyed something. All right, let's go to the next one, Mr. Jeremy. All right, here we go. The albedo formula, 3 steps to figuring out what you're going to do. Pollinate. Take the thing that you think you're going to do and spread it out and get people to get you influence on it. I'm going to go faster with this. You think that you're giving this out to the people who care about your idea. You're not. Ask a better question. Who else should I talk to? It's one of the things my team hated because we were in a regulated industry. We were in healthcare. I would ask my team, did you talk to lawyers? Did you talk to legal? No, what does legal have to do with it? They're going to stop us as soon as we try to sell something, and they go, no. Take your idea and ask the lawyers, what do they need? It's not about you. It's never been about you. And it's not going to be about you. It's about the lawyers in this case. You have to take your idea and spread it to everywhere. Who do you have that you might not think is part of your constituency, but if you look a little bit oblique, you go, oh, yeah, actually they kind of are. Do you have any constituencies that you at first did not think were relevant, but if you look a little bit off to your peripheral vision, you go, oh yeah, I need to talk to these folks. Awesome. I'm so happy. It's awesome, right? You know, and you don't even realize it sometimes, but now you have it in your head, right? And the next time you hear something, you're going to go, should I pollinate with that person? With that, you know, should I spread the idea over there? And this is just an interesting point of view because you don't necessarily think the way that you're going to think. Jeremy's just finished a class with IDEO Tech about ideas, and they were talking a little bit about the 3 little pigs. And what was the idea, the prompt that they made you do? Isn't that good? Not the pigs, not the wolf. I don't even know if I would have come up with that one. The bricks? I don't know. What is the bricks? Oh yeah, the bricks are part of this whole thing. I forgot about the bricks, right? Maybe I need to start selling brick that I just give to entrepreneurs and other folks. I will talk about anything. I will talk about dogs, cats, politics, arts, business, preferably. But I will talk about anything. It's getting pretty booked, and I do reduce that because, like I said, this is not my primary gig. I have an AI company that I run. So, all right, awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, there are 3 steps to figuring out what to destroy. The first one is the old what. So let's think about Amazon. What is the old what that Amazon was competing against? We said what it was. They're destroying, you know, the idea you have to buy a bookstore. But so what was it that people would have to do if they wanted to buy a book?
Go somewhere.
They have to go somewhere. You got to leave the house. Got to get in the car. What if you lived in Missouri? A lot harder because suddenly bookstores were not close to you. Certainly not big ones that might have the book you want, right? So now you got to drive a long way, right? So if you start thinking about what are the steps that people are doing that are no longer valid or that are super inefficient, you have this in spades in the insurance industry. So I had a healthcare tech company. We shadowed claims adjusters because they were one of the people who would use our software, not people who would buy it, but would use it. We shadowed them to figure out what they were doing that they hated to do or took a lot of time. And we started to figure out, oh, maybe that's something we need to destroy. And you know one of the ones that we found? So we built all this fancy software, we built all this sophisticated stuff. You know one of the ones that we had that the people hated doing that they would like to be able to do automatically? Faxing. I'm like, what? I need to be a faxing company? Like, yep. They would have to take these big reports and go to the machine and stick them on the fax machine and fax them out. They wanted a button. that they could press and they could fax. And we gave it to them and we got massive adoption. By the way, that took a year of me thinking I knew what they were going to do and not paying attention to my customers. So let's do an interesting customer problem. What's your favorite ice cream? Chocolate. What's your favorite ice cream?
Vanilla.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Salted caramel.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Strawberry.
Favorite ice cream?
Rocky Road.
Oh, I love Rocky Road. Favorite ice cream?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Favorite ice cream?
I don't really like ice cream, but I like pineapple sherbet.
Close enough.
Ben and Jerry's, almost all things.
Okay, what's the last ice cream you bought?
Mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip, not chocolate. What's the last ice cream you bought?
Chocolate.
And what did you say you liked? What did you say your favorite was? Vanilla. Okay, the last ice cream you bought.
Strawberry.
Okay, you're one out of them. You, sir.
Salted caramel.
Okay, two out of them.
Butter pecan.
Not what you said. All right.
I think it was the heaven from Marianne's.
Okay, not pineapple.
No, it's like a delicious peanut butter and chocolate.
Okay.
swirl.
Very
Okay, so not the other one. Okay, by the way, customers will lie to you. I'm just telling you. They will tell you they like one thing. I like chocolate. And then I like vanilla. My favorite ice cream is vanilla. And then I did something different. I bought something different. So customer preferences. So when I would go to my customers and I would say, hey, what do you guys hate doing? They would tell me, I hate doing these things. And then I processed them. They never told me they hate faxing. Then I watched them do things. I watched them go to the store and buy. I watched their old what, okay? And I watched what they did. So if I was opening a store for you, I would definitely not add, what did you say you liked? What did you buy? You like chocolate and you bought mint chocolate chip. I definitely would have mint chocolate chip in my selection, okay? Customers are lying to themselves. Okay, and I'm using the word lie because I'm trying to bring something up, obviously. Customers don't know what they do. You need to watch what they do. You need to watch the old what. You will see this in Clayton Christensen's book because he's a consultant. He sends his consultants out to a hamburger store because they're trying to sell more shakes. And they stand there and they watch people buy shakes. And they go, okay, business guy, 8 a.m., strawberry shake, pays in cash. So when I say the old what, you can pretend that you know what your customers want. If you don't watch them do it, doesn't have to be in focus groups, but you do need to sit down with whoever your customers are going to be and see what they do today, you'll get lied to. Mostly by yourself. You'll go, oh, they definitely want my software. They don't want your software, right? You guys have all heard the old saying that people do not buy quarter-inch drill bits, they buy quarter-inch holes. That's what they want. You don't sell drill bits, you sell holes. And in fact, people don't buy quarter-inch holes. What do they buy? What's the old what that people do? When they go to Home Depot and they're buying a quarter-inch drill bit, what problem are they trying to do? This is called, in Clayton Christensen, this is called the jobs to do framework. What job are they trying to do? This is why you have to read this book. This is why Synaptic Alchemy is good because it gives you a fun way to understand this. What job are people trying to do when they're drilling a quarter-inch hole, typically, or an eighth-inch hole?
Screw something together.
Screw something up. What are they typically trying to screw on?
Well, for me, it'd be art.
Art,
Always
pictures,
art.
100%. Most people trying to put up pictures. Who solved this problem? There's a new product out, not new.
3M.
3M.
Yeah.
Command strips.
Yeah.
Don't put a hole in your wall. Just don't. We have this thing that can keep your wall safe and solve the job that you're trying to do. So the jobs to be done framework. You should look this up.
Suck, though.
Okay, so the product didn't nail it, but the answer to the problem, they're getting there. Right now they got to get it to work.
Yeah.
But so the problem they're trying to solve, the old what is, I want to hang up a picture. I want to do it fast. I want to do it without hurting my walls. I want to do it without having to buy a drill bit. I don't need to have a drill because now I got to buy a damn drill, right? Old what is, what are people buying? Okay, again, easy to see, ex post, hard to see, a priori, right? Ex facto. You have this problem in spades. You guys have this problem in spades. What are my people doing that is either inefficient or that they have a problem doing? And then you can start using this jobs to be done framework and go, what job are they trying to accomplish? Right? Good? All right. Okay, time. All right. The real why. Why are they doing this? There's usually only two reasons why people do things. There's a carrot and a stick, right? I want something, or I don't want to be punished for something, right? If you can start to figure out what the real why is, then you can start to understand what you have to destroy. So let's talk about Amazon. What was the real why people wanted to buy books?
Like reading.
Okay, but people don't like reading just for reading's sake. What are they? Certainly non-fiction, right? But certainly for nonfiction, to learn things. They want information. So I need a piece of information, and even in the fiction world, right? So today, reading has gone down incredibly, right? People don't read anymore. What's the thing that's replaced reading? Audio, video, podcasts, right? So they have replaced. So the real why is I either want to be entertained, right? If it's a fiction book, and maybe I want to see the video, maybe I want to hear the author, I want to hear the narrative because I want to build a picture in my head, or I need to get some information. Blogs, right? If you think about this, why did Amazon buy Audible? People don't read. They want to hear the books, right? Okay, so the real why is I need to get information or entertainment onto my device. Again, easy to see in hindsight, in the rearview mirror. I'm going to ask each one of you guys, what are you going to destroy? And I'm going to want you guys to think about this. All right, and then the last one is the alternate reality. If bookstores did not exist, would we stop sharing information? No. I need to get this information. I'd have to start talking to you and ask you and start figuring it out, and there's no written word, and how would I do it? People won't stop getting information. Consequently, I can disintermediate the bookstore, but I better make it easy for people to get the information, and suddenly I will be worth, what's Amazon, 3.2 trillion? Okay. He didn't nail it, he nailed it, right? You guys can do the same thing. President Obama did this. What was President Obama's slogan?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. And it was. And what was the word on his posters? Hope. Right. The old what? We don't have hope. We can't get through whatever the topic is. Why? Because it hurts when I don't have hope. Not that I don't have education or I don't have a job. If I don't have hope, I don't know what to do. Very powerful message, right? The ultimate reality is you're not going to live without hope. People just won't. Revolution, I mean, you see it around the world stage. Politicians use this, really good politicians use this innately, right? Okay, questions about Negredo? Next one.
I do.
Yes, Mom.
How long do you take in observing the old what? So for new CEOs coming in, how long do you take observing the old what till you enact the burn down of the structure?
Yes, but that's exactly right? Different language, right? But the answer is yes. Everything from a minute to a decade. The answer is there's not a time frame. So here's another book I want you to read. Write this down. I know. Just get it anyways. I know. Get it.
No time. I'm giving you my time. So tell me the
I'm going to.
right now.
I'm going to. Wow. Okay.
This is audible.
This is
Right. This is audible. Never split the difference. You have to read this book. Okay. It's by a gentleman who was an ex-FBI hostage negotiator. He cannot split the difference. He cannot take someone hostage, and then someone gets taken hostage, and they want a $10 million reward. And he says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you half the reward. You send me back half the hostage. Yeah, you can't do that. Okay? So he talks about two phrases, and this is why I'm answering your question. You're right, and that's right. What you're looking for is that's right, all the time. And can you look up the name of on your phone, the guy who wrote Never Split the Difference? It's escaping me right now. You can look him up on the internet, and you can just look up his name, and that's right, and you'll understand this. If I tell you, yeah, you're right. No, you're right that we should change the way we're doing this thing, and I'm placating you, I will actually not move. When I hear you say, that's right, it means that you understand me. So you spend the amount of time it takes to get a that's right. Hey, you guys have this cool thing that you need to do in claims, and you need to get the claims out, and then, wow, you guys spend a lot of time faxing. Yeah, that's right. Oh, crap, I got it. You're looking for that's right. Super hard to do in the field, in real life. It's the only thing that matters. And you'll actually hear me talk about this, and someone will go, that's right. And essentially I have capitulation. I understand them. And I'm going to give you the story. Chris Voss is the name of the guy who wrote Never Split the Difference. And that's why I'm telling you about this book, right? Because you spend as much time as it takes to get that's right. It might take you a year, okay? And you have to do other things in the meantime. But in the meantime, you're going, all right, I'm not quite there yet. I don't quite know what the key unlock is to destroy something. But I'm getting there. I'm getting closer. So you don't have to stop, right? But you're looking for that's right. So here's the story. And it's apocryphal, and I'm probably going to screw it up. Guy goes to, I don't know, Venezuela. American guy goes to Venezuela, showing off his Rolex, gets kidnapped by a terrorist, kind of guy who sends heads home in a box. Mean guy. Chris Voss is working for the FBI. He doesn't even have a phone number to contact the terrorist. He has to wait for the terrorist to call him because he calls on burners and throws them away. Okay, great. He starts looking up the terrorist on any source that he can find. Figures out what the guy's code name is. He doesn't even know the name of the guy. Right there up in the mountains in Venezuela somewhere. And realizes this guy is a drug lord. He buries trash cans with $100 million in them in Venezuela. He's got $4 billion in cash. He doesn't need another $10 million. Why is he asking for a ransom? $10 million is not going to change anything. But he's asking for $10 million for this guy. Chris eventually realizes, because of some of the speeches that this terrorist has said, again, anonymously, that he feels that his country has been hurt by the United States. Terrorist calls up and goes, if you don't send me the money right now, I'm going to start cutting off body parts. In fact, I'm getting the chainsaw out. I'm going to start cutting off. And Chris goes, hold it. You don't want $10 million. Gutsy thing to say to a terrorist who's about to cut the head off of your hostage. He says, you want war reparations. And the guy on the other side of the phone goes, yeah, that's right. Hostage shows up 3 days later at LAX. No money's exchanged hands. Because he understood what his customer, who happened to be a terrorist, wanted. That's why I'm telling you this. Good?
Great.
Made my money.
I would also add that the world's best brands are in a constant cycle
Yeah.
doing this.
Of course,
right?
you better
You
be.
release the product and you go right back and
You
start
better be.
looking and getting,
You better cannibalize because your competition is right on your tail.
Yeah. I mean, it's why Amazon went from
Yep.
paper books to
Yep.
Kindle eventually. like
Yep.
you said,
Right, and that's why they do innovation, right? The innovation cycle. It's why they bought Audible. That's why, absolutely. And lots of times, this is not always clear. It's super hard. Amazon opens up stores, realizes they're expensive. People don't care. They become showrooms, closes stores, right? So all the best guys don't necessarily do this. Okay. All right. Any other questions? That was good. That was a great question. Yes, sir.
When I think of Amazon,
Yes, sir.
and I look at these steps are really interesting. They inform the idea, an example Amazon put of annihilating any constraint in the marketplace
Yep.
to their success.
Yep.
They look at what the customer's constraints are. Oh wow, it takes me forever to get anything. So okay, we'll revolutionize the product delivery business.
Yep.
I mean,
Called Prime.
Right. Right. I mean, it's like I've never seen anyone so effective
Mm-hmm.
at annihilating constraints
Mhm.
in the market.
Fail forward fast
Yeah.
is one of the things that Bezos does, and you'll see this in the book, right? And Prime is a prime example, pun intended, right? When he came out with Prime, his lieutenants were like, this is stupid. We're going to lose our money hand over fist. There's no way that this is going to work.
It's not our specialty. We send books. We sell books.
We send books. Now we're going to give stuff away for free. People are going to buy weights and sand, and we're going to lose our shirts on this. And then they start to vertically integrate. Like you see Amazon now is Amazon drones, right? And that's just that's a tactic to the idea of no constraint. So, all right, I'm going to put up two things up here. Can I write out with this? We're about to find out. Okay.